Or you, yeah you, thinking about buying that Puma ST. Hold that thought, because Nissan has just launched a new version of the Juke, and it might be the better car. Because it's priced really similarly, and it's had a sporty makeover. All while still offering an amazing 58 miles per gallon fuel economy, and with promise of a very comfortable ride. Although, one of those things does come at a hidden cost. And I'll tell you what that is in just a moment, but first, let's talk about what this Juke N-Sport gets. And yes, I said N-Sport. Calm down, BMW lawyers.
I think this is a great looking crossover, and you lot wholeheartedly agree with me.
And I thought that before the N-Sport model arrived, but now we get this new shade of iconic yellow paint, and the model's also brought these 19-inch alloy wheels, which look quite cool under those swelled wheel arches. Of course, we've still got the same basic shape, but we get a standard two-tone finish to slim the roofline down, and then it kind of gets to the back and it pinches to give a muscular squat stance, and one that, compared to the more bulbous Ford Puma and the more angular Peugeot 2008 and Vauxhall Mocha, well, I think this is the best looking one.
Or at least, I think it's the most fun looking one, because I have to admit, the Puma ST hasn't half aged well.
Although coming around to the back of the Juke is where you start to see it fall short of the Puma, because lifting the boot up, you'll see there's less space than you get in the Puma, and that's if you go for the petrol Juke. If you go for the hybrid like this one here, well then you have even less storage space, and that's largely because, despite there being a boot floor which actually can be lowered, which is quite handy, if you lift up the floor underneath there, well, unlike the Puma, which has a hidden storage box down there, here, well, in this car, we've got a bit of battery, so there is no lower section for storage, which means you pretty much just got what you see above here. It is okay, I have to admit. I mean, take, for example, Jamil's aeroplane carry-on bag. Plenty of space in there for at least a couple of those, but if space is your priority, the Puma definitely pulls ahead of our Juke. But if back seats are your priority instead of the boot, well, this is where the Juke scores a point back in its battle with the Puma, because there is a little bit more space, especially when it comes to foot, knee and headroom in the back here. And also the seats, compared to the sportier and therefore a little bit firmer seats that you get in the Puma ST, and even in some of the ST line models, these are positively squidgy. They're really comfortable and the cushioning is nice. And okay, I'm not going to pretend that this is a really big back seat area. You're not going to get 3 people on this back row very comfortably. The middle seat is definitely for your shorter journeys and ideally your shorter people. But as a 4-seater, it's quite nice, and you're also fairly well kitted out with electric windows, and you get USB-C and USB-A ports down there. And even if you're a little babby, well, you're well catered to with easy to reach ISOFIX bars. Although if you're an adult like me, well, my favorite bit in all of the interior has something to do with these weird looking headrests. Now these are speakers in your headrest, because this N-Sport trim gets a few goodies that are really useful, especially for music lovers. And I love playing music very loud on my journeys, and having these tweeters right up against my ear means the bass can be left to the other speakers in the car, so you get a really good high quality surround sound experience, and one that certainly rivals even the best in a Ford Puma. And also rivaling the Puma is the standard kit you get elsewhere on this N-Sport. I mean, we've got a heated steering wheel and even a heated windscreen, which on a cold day today is very useful in the morning. And of course that tech used to be exclusive to Ford as well. Also, this N-Sport gets, like other models in the Juke range, big screens here. I've got a big instrument cluster ahead of me with nice clear graphics, a few more menus than I'd like, but it goes with this widescreen infotainment system, which is bigger than the one you get in the Ford. It's not the best system I've ever used, and it's certainly not the fastest, but it gets wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, which is going to be key. Also, you've got other wireless features, including a wireless charging mat down here, which is plenty big enough for my iPhone 15, and that sits below a USB-A and a USB-C port too. And I should shout out to the buttons you get in this car. There are still some proper buttons, including ones on your steering wheel for your media and also your driving assistance features, and you've also got manual switches for the climate control, so there's no faffing in the infotainment system. And I think generally the fit, the finish, and more importantly, the style and the pizzazz of this N-Sport. The dash looks a little bit nicer in my opinion, and it gives the car, well, a sportier feel. Although you have to remember this is a hybrid car, and really that's clear when you look down and find the E-pedal and EV buttons down here. And I'll explain to you what they do in just a moment, but first I want to show you something that is very, very annoying. Oh, the bings and the bongs of this Nissan Juke have been driving me crazy. In town earlier today, when I was surrounded by cyclists and cars and everything you get in an urban environment, everything was beeping at me. I had parking sensors going, I had some lane discipline beeps going at me, and pedestrians, and oh my goodness. It was so distracting. And the worst thing is I couldn't figure out how to turn it off. I mean, there are menus here with driving assistance buttons, but when I clicked them, the bings and bongs just kept happening.
Stop bonging.
And of course, because new cars these days always have to have them on when you restart the engine, even if you found how to do it, which I haven't, well, every time you start the car, you'd have to turn them off. It's not simple like other models where you just have a single button. That's enormously frustrating.
But on the flip side, once you figure out how to switch off the beeps, the Juke is actually one of the most relaxing cars to drive in this class. The ride is good, and the seats, just like those in the back, are properly comfortable.
Plus, because this is a proper hybrid rather than a mild hybrid like in the Puma, we have a nice smooth electric acceleration, and in town it can drive in EV mode, especially if you press the EV mode button down there. And the other advantage is the e-pedal mode, which, just like proper electric cars, means when I click it, I actually have a small amount of deceleration from regenerative tech. It means it's taking energy back into the battery, and there's less work for me to do. I don't have to brake as much. And another thing that makes the car easier to live with is the Juke's visibility. Now, I don't feel like I'm sat quite as low as I could be in the Ford Puma, but I'm still cocooned nicely into the cabin, and yet my door mirrors are ginormous. They're basically big squares, and visibility out the back is okay, despite there being quite a slanted rear window. Camera visibility on the back, I mean, I've got a good amount of visibility in terms of vision and the width of the camera, but actually it's pretty low resolution, although for most people it's fine. And of course, you've got plenty of bongs to tell you whether you're close to something else.
And visibility, even when you're a shorter driver that struggles with sun glare, is improved by the Juke's unusually large sun visors, which can fold down to block far more blinding light than most cars.
I have to admit, handling is definitely not this car's strong point. It goes through corners fine, honestly, it's cornering perfectly normally here, but the Puma, well, this is one of the Puma's strong points. It actually feels like a little hot hatch when you drive it through bends. This is much less eventful through the bends, and that's going to be fine for most people, but if you like your driving, I think the Puma, and especially the Puma ST, is going to be a lot more appealing. Although, did you know that Ford has quietly killed off its 200 horsepower Puma ST model, and now you get a 170 horsepower 1 litre ST? I mean, that ST badge on a 1 litre feels a bit, well, not right. But it does mean for the Juke, it's much closer now. With its 150 odd horsepower, we aren't that far off what you get in the full-blown red-blooded ST model. So in terms of performance, it's comparable.
That is, of course, unless you're looking at used STs on Cinch, where you can still find Pumas with the cracking 200 horsepower producing 1.5 litre for almost half the price of a new one.
It's only when you ask more of this powertrain in the Juke that you realise that it's not quite as smooth in its transition between electric and petrol as you might want. The gearbox is fine, it's an automatic, but sometimes you accelerate hard, the electric gives you a kick up the backside, but then the petrol engine's sort of like, oh, I'm in the wrong gear, and there's a bit of a hesitation. So that's not ideal, but if you drive it normally, it is actually pretty refined. So that kind of leaves us with a problem really, because this Juke in N-Sport trim looks the part, but it's nowhere near as sporty to drive as the Puma. But it claws back because it's so much more fuel efficient, and therefore it's going to be cheaper to run. So really, it's a good thing, isn't it, that this offers something different but similar to the Puma. Although if you really need more help, rest assured you can pop into a Cinch store, see these cars in the metal, and even take them for a test drive. And before you do that, if you want to whittle down your options again, well, we've made a video with some of the best SUVs you can buy right now over here.